Osiris is one of the main deities in Egyptian mythology. He is the son of Geb, the god of the earth, and Nut, the goddess of the heavens. Osiris is considered the first pharaoh in Egypt. On his throne, the god was revered by gods and mortals. Osiris was considered a wise and benevolent sovereign, loved by all. He taught the arts of weaving, music, agriculture to the Egyptian people. His reign was a period of enormous prosperity in Egypt. Having established laws that should be followed by all, Osiris is considered to have initiated the civilizing process of Egypt. Osiris was worshipped as the god of fertility, for, thanks to the god, the people of Egypt thrived in the fertile banks of the Nile. The queen of the great pharaoh was the goddess Isis, who helped her husband rule and made the kingdom prosper. The god was considered a deity whose mission in the world was to install order. But Osiris had a brother, Seth, who was a chaotic god, opposed to Osiris. Seth wanted to usurp his brother's throne and devised a plan to kill him. Osiris was deceived by his brother's trap. The god ended up trapped in a coffin, which was later thrown into the Nile River. Isis rescued her husband's body, which irritated Seth. He cut up Osiris's body and scattered his 14 pieces throughout Egypt. Each place where a piece of Osiris was hidden became a sacred location. His wife gathered most of the pieces, and Anubis embalmed the body of Osiris, transforming this god into the very first mummy. Through a magical ritual, the goddess brought her husband back to life, but he was no longer the same. Osiris rose as the god of the world of the dead. The kingdom of Osiris was known as Duat. In their kingdom, newcomers were judged in the Hall of Two Truths, where their hearts were weighted. On one side, Anubis placed a feather of Mat, the goddess of justice, and on the other, the heart. If the heart was heavier than the feather, because of the sins committed, it would be thrown at Ammit, the devouring monster. If the heart weighed no more than the feather, the deceased was taken to Osiris for the final judgment. Aided by 42 judges, the god of the dead judged the new subjects. When approved by Osiris, the newcomer had access to the Field of Reeds, a kind of Egyptian paradise. Horus, the falcon-headed god, was Osiris's main son, with his wife Isis. Horus reigned over the earth in place of his father, who had left for the Underworld. As the god of fertility, he commanded the life and death cycles of all living beings. When the plants grew again after traditional floods of the Nile, Osiris was revered. God's death and resurrection symbolized the seasons of the year. Osiris, for his benevolence, was always one of the gods most loved by the Egyptians of antiquity. The largest place of worship of Osiris was in Upper Egypt, in Abydos. It is believed that, in this temple, the history of the death and resurrection of one of the most important gods of Egyptian mythology was reenacted.